YouTube, what's up? Back again for another daily fishing video here on Andrew Upshaw Fishing. Guys, today I have a really cool video for you. We're going to be talking about tiny trapping. Tiny trapping is something I've done for almost 15 years, and it's added a lot of big bonus fish to my bag so many times. And right now, this year is a year that it's going to work. So, hey, real fast though, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you do that. I've been filming a bunch of content lately. Haven't been posting a lot, been filming a lot though. And I know when y'all start seeing some of the content I've been producing, you're going to really, really like it. But we're just not quite there yet. But hey, let's just dive right on into this tiny trapping. So tiny trapping, like I said, I've done for over 15 years. And it all started out with a Bill Lewis Lures 1/4 ounce rattle trap. I remember quite a few different tournaments where I was really worked well with this 1/4 ounce trap. Now, guys are going to say, man, when are you going to throw a 1/4 ounce trap? And why does a 1/4 ounce trap catch fish? And how do you fish it? And these are all questions I get a lot. I mean, a ton, actually. And when it comes to 1/4 ounce trapping and throwing that really small bait over the grass, you got to have the perfect situation. And what I mean by perfect situation, this year is one of those perfect years. The South hasn't seen as much cold weather as we typically do, especially around Rayburn, Toledo Bend, and all through Texas and places like that. It just hadn't been that cold. Water temps are still fairly high. And let's be honest, the grass didn't fall back. You know, a lot of times when it gets really, really cold, you have some grass that dies or slows the growth or whatever it may be. And this year, there's still a lot of grass that's right underneath the surface or within a foot and a half of the surface. And that's when that tiny trap comes into play. And that's when I like to fish it the most. So the idea behind a tiny trap is I like it when the grass is high, it's warmer water, and it's getting a lot of pressure. So the one thing that we've learned over the years is when there's a good grass bite, so many people like to flock to the grass and they go throw rattle traps and lipless crankbaits. And you know what? I'm the same kind of person. I love fishing a lipless crankbait. To me, there's not a better bite in this world than that slackline hit or that knock from getting bit on a lipless crankbait. There's nothing better in my opinion, other than maybe crappie fishing. So, you know, this really drives home to me. You know, fishing that little small bait, you're like, okay, how does that catch big ones? Well, the deal is, and I've stressed this to you guys, and I know if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you understand this. There's a certain section of water, and I'm saying that first foot and a half, that if fish are getting pressure, there's two trains of thought there. You can either go to a really big gaudy bait, I mean like a 10-inch swim bait, a giant topwater, something like that, to get those fish to trigger, or you go really compact and really small. Does the big bait work? Absolutely. I've had days out there with the giant bait and just unbelievable. But I've had just as many of those days with a little 1/4 ounce bait too, a little smaller profile. I think whenever it gets in that first foot and a half water column, those fish can see it better, they can sense it better. You just have to trick them a little bit better. And that 1/2 ounce bait's just a tiny bit too big sometimes. That 1/4 ounce trap though, I can fish it in places that you can't fish anything else. And so that's what makes it super effective. So the whole idea behind the 1/4 ounce trap, the way I fish it, and to me, the way you fish it is probably the most important aspect of this. And your gear is another really important aspect of this. So right here I have a 1/4 ounce red-eyed shad. And the red-eyed shad, what makes it unique is the way it flutters when it falls. So when it's falling, it actually has a shimmy. And I just love it. And I love the way it acts in the grass. I love the way it fishes in the grass. It's just become one of my go-to baits. But the way you fish this 1/4 ounce red-eyed shad over and around the grass is it's kind of a three-prong approach. You've got to have big line. So I'm talking like 17 to 20 pound line or even 30 pound braid, depending on what your preference is. I actually will go to 20 pound fluorocarbon most of the time. This is the new Contra fluorocarbon, but that's what I'm kind of turning to in that situation. I'm going to keep my rod tip high. So I'm going to keep it at 10 to 11. So I mean almost straight up. And what this is going to do is going to provide lift for your bait. You want to have that lift. And that 20 pound with, in conjunction with the 1/4 ounce lipless crankbait, is going to help lift it up too. So it's not going to have as much drag or it's going to have more drag in the water, which therefore going to keep that bait higher in the water column. The last piece of the puzzle is a fast gear ratio reel. I'm using a 7.5 or even 8.3 to 1. I just like that 7.5 to 1 gear ratio though. But keeping that rod high and a constant retrieve, a pretty quick retrieve at that. And what this is going to do is it's going to keep the bait high. But the most important aspect of this is you have to tick the grass. You have to be dragging that bait across the grass. You have to be hitting it. Because in my opinion, 9 times out of 10, any day that you go out there, if your bait is deflecting off cover, you got a better chance of catching bass. You look at deep dredging crankbaits, running a square bill off a laydown, you name it, the more reaction strike that you can cause, the better chance you have to catch and fish. And there's no difference in a 1/4 ounce trap. You want to either be dragging that bait across the top of the grass, like if it's a mat of some sort, or if it's tall, stringy grass, you want to be hitting it and ripping it out, ripping it out, ripping it out. And that's going to cause that reaction strike and therefore getting those bites. Now, not all 1/4 ounce lipless crankbaits created equal. There's a bunch of different ones out there. I've fished almost every single one of them because I am a lipless crankbait connoisseur. And we're going to dive more into lipless crankbaits. I'm going to have a couple of videos coming out on this, and not necessarily on tiny baits, but whether it be color selection or the type of bait or just literally all those different aspects of lipless crankbaits. But for this particular video, we're just talking tiny trapping. The reason, though, I really like a tiny trap, more so than anything, is it is so compact. I've caught big ones on it. I can't explain it other than it just works, especially on pressured places. Now, when it comes to color selection for the tiny trap, I keep it pretty basic. I don't really care if there's like a Rayburn red or a Delta red. I just think red. So I just grab the very first red one I see, and that's the one I throw. If I need a shad color, like I'll go to like a white. In this case, this is the Tennessee Shad 2.0. There's 4 colors I fish though, and I keep it extremely basic. I throw a red, I throw a white, I throw a gold, and I throw a chrome and blue. And that's what I fish. When it comes to 1/4 ounce trapping, I keep it pretty basic. And a lot of times, if that particular size of lipless crankbait is working, I'll have 4 different ones tied on. And the reason is because it depends on watercolor, conditions, and those kind of things, or what I believe the fish are feeding on, or if they're getting a lot of pressure. Right now, as the lakes are transitioning, red is starting to work tremendously. Gold is kind of the one that I turn to more in December. And white will be the one I turn to right before they get ready to start spawning. So red and chrome and blue are the ones that I typically have on right today. Like if I was going to have 2 to tie it on, I'd have a chrome and blue and a red one. I think it's a big difference between those 2 and the others. And the reason is because they just catch them. I mean, like, there's no question about it. You can look back at tournament results, and this is something I used to do as a kid all the time. And one name that always stuck out to me that always fished a 1/4 ounce trap was Bud Pruitt. And Bud Pruitt was probably, if not still, one of the very best lipless crankbait fishermen out there. And there's a reason that he's so good, is he spent a lot of time with it in his hands, and he understands the effectiveness of that 1/4 ounce bait. And a lot of times guys don't really pay attention to that. They just go do what everybody else does. They pick up their 1/2 ounce bait, their 5/8 ounce bait, their 3/4 ounce bait, and they fish it the exact same as everybody else. But this is an alternate method of fishing a lipless crankbait that I think will absolutely load the boat for you. Now, I'm not just going to leave it there. I'm not just going to give you the basics of colors and that kind of stuff. And I just want to clarify this real quick. I have no hook sponsor. I only use what I feel like is going to be the best for my situation. In this situation, I'm using a Mustad triple grip. This is the short shank. This is the KVD Elite. This is the one that I use all the time. It's the 1-time short, or 1-time thickness, 2-time short. I just think that wide gap hook is second to none. I mean, there's nothing that's even close to it when it comes to lipless crankbaits. It gives you the perfect rip out of the grass, but it really sticks them extremely, extremely well. And one thing that I've done for years, I don't know if it makes a difference. In this case, I think it does, but a red hook on the front. This is a little trick I've done for a long time. I don't necessarily do it on a red bait, but I do it on my chromes, my golds, and my whites, chartreuse and blues, things like that. But when it comes to that less than 4 foot range, I still believe that a red hook on your front treble will get you more bites and will get you a better landing ratio. I can't explain it. I just think that they can see it better and they can react. Now, when you get in 20, 25 foot, stuff like that, does a red hook really matter? No, it doesn't. There's not enough light penetration. But in that less than 5 foot, there's plenty of light penetration. They can see that red, and I do think it will get you more bites. So, guys, that is a breakdown of how I tiny trap, the way I tiny trap, and what I look for. And look for that grass that's right below the surface, 1 to 2 foot. Keep that rod high, reel it fast, and you're going to catch big fish. Guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I got some really cool ones coming next week, so make sure y'all stay tuned. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see y'all on the next video.